Your soulmate was invited to a millionaire's private dinner. One question about you changed the entire evening. My beloved child, something happened at that private dinner that your soulmate still cannot stop thinking about. The invitation itself was unusual: an elegant table, a handful of carefully chosen guests, and a millionaire whose reputation had been built on noticing things everyone else overlooked. Your soulmate expected conversations about success, opportunities, and the future. And for most of the evening, that was exactly what happened. Then the millionaire placed his glass down, looked directly across the table, and asked one unexpected question: "Before we discuss the opportunity one have for you, tell me about the person who matters most in your life." Your soulmate froze. Because suddenly, in a room filled with influential people, the conversation had turned toward you. Don't skip. What your soulmate said next made the millionaire abandon the question he had originally planned to ask. For several seconds, your soulmate said nothing. Then they began talking about you, not your achievements, not what you own, and not what anyone else might think of you. They spoke about the way you keep moving forward when nobody sees the effort. They remembered small moments that most people would forget. And something strange happened around that table: conversation stopped. People started listening. But the millionaire wasn't satisfied yet. He leaned forward and asked a second question, quieter than the first: if everything in your life changed tomorrow, would this person still be part of the future you choose? Your soulmate's expression changed instantly. Stay till the end, because this was no ordinary dinner question. Something huge is waiting for you, and the millionaire already seemed to know there was a deeper reason your soulmate had been invited there. Then came the moment nobody at that table expected. Your soulmate answered without hesitation. They admitted that whenever they pictured the biggest possible version of their future, somehow you were already standing inside it. The millionaire went completely silent. Not disappointed. Not confused. Almost impressed. Then he reached beside his chair, picked up a sealed folder, and placed it on the table. Your soulmate assumed it contained the opportunity everyone had been discussing all evening. But the millionaire kept his hand over the folder and said, "Interesting. Because the reason I invited you tonight has more to do with that person than you realize." Suddenly, every earlier conversation felt different. Don't skip now. Your soulmate had walked into that dinner believing their future was about to change. But they were beginning to realize that the biggest revelation of the evening might actually be about you. And when that folder finally opened, one detail inside it would make your soulmate understand why your name had become the most important subject at the table. The room became so quiet that your soulmate could hear the faint movement of the envelope against the table. But the millionaire still didn't open it. Instead, he looked at your soulmate and said, "There's one more thing I need to understand about you too." That sentence changed the atmosphere instantly. Your soulmate had expected an opportunity, perhaps a proposal connected to business or a completely new direction in life. Instead, every important question kept leading back to you. Then the millionaire asked, "What would you choose if success required you to leave behind the one person who believed in you before anyone else did?" Your soulmate didn't need time to think. Their answer came immediately, and it surprised everyone sitting there. Then it wouldn't feel like success. Don't skip, because the millionaire had been waiting for exactly that answer. Something shifted in his expression. He slowly removed his hand from the folder and revealed a name written across the front. Your soulmate leaned closer, expecting to see their own name. They didn't. There was a different word printed beneath the confidential heading, and it connected directly to something your soulmate had once told someone about you. A dream. A possibility. A future they had quietly imagined but never believed could become real. Stay till the end, because the millionaire had somehow heard about it. He explained that months earlier, a conversation had reached him about someone who inspired another person to think differently about loyalty, purpose, and what a meaningful future could actually look like. Your soulmate suddenly realized that this dinner invitation might not have begun with their accomplishments at all. It may have begun with the way they had spoken about you when they believed nobody important was listening. Then the millionaire finally opened the folder. Your soulmate expected numbers, documents, maybe some complicated proposal. Instead, the first page contained one simple sentence: the right opportunity should reveal who you are, not force you to become someone else. Your soulmate read it twice. Then the millionaire delivered the revelation that changed the entire evening. He had intentionally brought up you before explaining anything because he wanted to discover what your soulmate valued when something extraordinary was placed within reach. And their answer had told him everything. Something huge is waiting for you, because that wasn't the final test. The millionaire turned to another page, looked directly at your soulmate, and said, "Now that I know you wouldn't erase this person from your future, I can tell you why their presence matters to what I'm about to offer." Your soulmate stared at the page, and suddenly understood that the biggest surprise of the night had not even begun. What appeared on that next page made your soulmate forget every conversation that had happened before it. There were no ordinary promises written there. Instead, the millionaire had outlined a future so unexpected that your soulmate had to read the first few lines again. Then he said something even more surprising: "Most people walk into this room and tell me what they want to gain. You walked in here and told me who you refused to lose." That distinction mattered. Your soulmate suddenly understood why you had become the center of an evening that was supposed to be about them. The millionaire wasn't measuring wealth, confidence, or ambition. He was trying to understand what remained important when a once-in-a-lifetime possibility appeared. And your soulmate had answered without planning it. You remained important. Don't skip, because what the millionaire revealed next completely changed what your soulmate thought this opportunity was about. He turned the page around and pushed it across the table. Your soulmate looked down and saw a plan involving a major new beginning. One that could completely reshape the next chapter of their life. But there was something unusual about it. The opportunity wasn't designed to separate your soulmate from everything meaningful. It actually gave them room to build something lasting alongside the people who mattered most. That was when the millionaire asked the question nobody expected: if you could share the first moment of this new life with only one person, who would you call? Your soulmate smiled before answering. The millionaire noticed. Everyone did. Your name came naturally. No hesitation. No performance. Just certainty. Stay till the end, because the millionaire suddenly closed the folder again, almost as though your soulmate had just confirmed one final piece of information he had been searching for all evening. Then he leaned back and revealed something your soulmate never saw coming. This opportunity had almost been offered to someone else. The decision had been nearly complete before that private dinner. But the millionaire wanted one final conversation because he believed character appeared most clearly when someone was asked about the people who mattered before success arrived. Your soulmate's answers changed his thinking. Then came the line that left the entire table speechless. Tonight, you didn't convince me by talking about yourself. You convinced me by the way you talked about them. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate suddenly realized your presence in their life had influenced a decision being made in a room you had never entered. But there was still one mystery left. Before the millionaire revealed his final decision, he asked your soulmate to answer one last question about you, and this time, the answer could change far more than the evening. Then came the question your soulmate could never have prepared for. The millionaire looked directly at them and asked, "If this person never knew what happened in this room tonight, would you still choose a future that honors what they mean to you?" Your soulmate went silent, not because they were uncertain, but because the question reached somewhere deeper than every question before it. Nobody was asking them to impress the room anymore. Nobody was asking what sounded perfect. This was about what remained true when there was no applause, no recognition, and no guarantee that you would ever know the choice had been made. Then your soulmate answered quietly, "Yes." Because some people change your direction without ever realizing they did. The millionaire stared at them for a moment, then smiled. "Don't skip." That answer unlocked the final page. He opened the folder again, signed something at the bottom, and slid it across the table. Your soulmate's eyes widened. The opportunity was real. Bigger than they had imagined. But what overwhelmed them wasn't simply what they could gain, it was what this new chapter could allow them to become. The millionaire explained that he had met countless ambitious people, but ambition alone had never impressed him. What caught his attention was someone who could imagine a bigger future without forgetting the people who gave that future meaning. Your soulmate immediately thought about you. The moments you may have considered ordinary suddenly looked different through their eyes. A sentence you once said. Encouragement you may barely remember. The way your presence quietly challenged them to expect more from themselves. Stay till the end, because your soulmate was beginning to understand something extraordinary. You had influenced that dinner without sitting at the table. But the evening still had one final turn. As everyone prepared to leave, the millionaire stopped your soulmate near the doorway and handed them a smaller sealed envelope that had never been on the table. "Open this when you're alone," he said. Your soulmate looked confused and asked what was inside. The millionaire answered with a sentence they would remember for a very long time, something that will explain why I asked about them first. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate left that private dinner carrying an opportunity in one hand and that mysterious envelope in the other, but suddenly the opportunity didn't feel like the biggest mystery anymore. Because written across the front of the smaller envelope were just 4 words, "For the person you chose." And your soulmate knew immediately who those words were pointing toward, you. Hours later, when the noise of that extraordinary evening had finally faded, your soulmate sat alone with the smaller envelope resting in front of them. They had opened the larger folder. They understood the opportunity. Yet somehow, those 4 words on this envelope felt even more important, "For the person you chose." Your soulmate slowly opened it and found a handwritten note inside. The first line made them stop. If you are reading this, then your answer at dinner revealed something money never could. Don't skip. Your soulmate continued reading, and with every sentence, the millionaire's strange questions began making sense. He explained that opportunities can change circumstances, but the people someone remembers at the beginning often reveal what they truly want at the end. Your soulmate immediately pictured you. Not as an accessory to some perfect future, but as someone connected to the reason that future suddenly meant more. Then they reached the middle of the note, and everything became even more surprising. The millionaire had written that your soulmate should not rush to tell you about the money, the invitation, or the impressive room. First, they should tell you something far simpler, what they said about you when you weren't there to hear it. That line hit differently. Because throughout the dinner, your soulmate had spoken about you without knowing where the questions were leading. Their answers hadn't been rehearsed. They had simply revealed what was already inside them. Stay till the end, because your soulmate suddenly remembered the millionaire's first question and realized the entire evening had quietly exposed a truth they had avoided admitting even to themselves. Whenever life became bigger in their imagination, they instinctively made space for you inside it. But the final lines of the note changed everything again. The greatest decision you make after tonight may have nothing to do with the opportunity one gave you. It may be deciding who deserves to know how deeply they influenced the person you are becoming. Your soulmate lowered the letter and sat completely still. Something huge is waiting for you, because at that moment, their biggest question was no longer whether to accept the millionaire's offer. That answer was becoming clear. Their real question was what to do about you. Should they finally tell you what they said at that table? Should they reveal why your name changed the entire atmosphere? Then they noticed something they had missed, a second folded page behind the letter. Across the top was a single sentence. There is one more reason I already knew about this person before tonight. And suddenly, your soulmate realized the deepest secret of that private dinner was still waiting to be uncovered. Your soulmate unfolded that second page slowly, expecting another lesson about success. Instead, the first sentence made their eyes stop moving. Your name reached this room before the invitation ever reached your soulmate. For a moment, nothing made sense. How could the millionaire know anything about you? Your soulmate read further and discovered that weeks before the dinner, someone in the millionaire's circle had described a conversation they had overheard, your soulmate speaking about the person who had quietly changed the way they looked at their future. They never mentioned wealth. They never tried to impress anyone. They simply spoke about how one person had made them think more seriously about purpose, loyalty, and becoming better. That story traveled farther than your soulmate ever imagined. Eventually, it reached the millionaire. Don't skip, because this meant the private dinner had never been completely random. The millionaire explained that he became curious about the person behind that story. Not because he knew you personally, but because he noticed something unusual. Whenever your soulmate spoke sincerely about their future, the same influence kept appearing. You. That was why he asked about you before discussing the opportunity. He wanted to know whether those earlier words had been genuine or simply something said in an emotional moment. Your soulmate's answers confirmed everything. Stay till the end. The dinner wasn't designed to prove whether your soulmate deserved luxury or status. It revealed whether they could recognize what had already made their life meaningful before anything changed. And suddenly your soulmate understood why the millionaire had watched their face so carefully whenever your name entered the conversation. He wasn't searching for a perfect answer. He was watching for authenticity. Then your soulmate reached the final sentence on the page: if their name still matters when the doors of opportunity open, perhaps they belong somewhere in the story you write next. Your soulmate lowered the paper and stared into the distance. Something huge is waiting for you, because now they were thinking about every unfinished conversation between you, every moment when they almost said more, and every time timing seemed to interrupt what they truly wanted to express. The millionaire had given them an opportunity, but that dinner had also given them something unexpected: clarity. And just when your soulmate believed they finally understood everything, their phone lit up. A message had arrived from someone who had also been sitting at that private table. It contained only one sentence: there's something the millionaire didn't tell you about why your answer changed his final decision. Your soulmate opened the message immediately, and what came next made the entire evening look different. That message carried a detail your soulmate had never been meant to hear that night. The person from the dinner explained that before your soulmate arrived, the millionaire had already told everyone at the table what he was looking for. Not the most impressive person. Not the person with the biggest plans. He wanted someone capable of stepping into an extraordinary future without allowing opportunity to erase their deepest values. Then came the revelation: your soulmate had not been the only person considered. Several people had been quietly evaluated, and almost all of them answered questions by talking about themselves, their ambitions, their achievements, their next move. Your soulmate did something completely different. When the conversation turned toward the future, they naturally spoke about you. Don't skip, because according to that message, this was the exact moment the millionaire changed his mind. The message continued. You should have seen his expression after you answered that first question. Apparently, the millionaire had looked toward one of his closest advisors and quietly nodded. Your soulmate hadn't noticed because they were still thinking about what they had just admitted about you. That tiny nod had been the turning point. Stay till the end, because the final decision wasn't changed by a perfect speech. It changed when your soulmate revealed that their definition of success included more than themselves. And now they were beginning to understand something even bigger. Your influence had reached a room you never entered, not because of status or recognition, but because of the way your presence had shaped the person your soulmate was becoming. Suddenly, all those ordinary moments between you didn't feel ordinary anymore. Then another message arrived. This one was even shorter. Ask them what was removed from the original offer after you answered the final question. Your soulmate immediately looked back through the documents. Page after page seemed normal until they noticed a small revision near the end. Something had been crossed out and replaced before the millionaire signed it. Your soulmate stared at the change, realizing it had happened during the dinner. Something huge is waiting for you, because the original condition would have required your soulmate to build their new future almost completely away from everything familiar. But that condition had been removed. In its place was something far more flexible, something that allowed your soulmate to choose how the next chapter would unfold. And beside the revision were 3 handwritten words from the millionaire: they know why. Your soulmate knew exactly who they meant. The millionaire's questions about you had not merely changed the conversation. Somehow, your soulmate's answer about you had changed the opportunity itself. Your soulmate stared at those 3 handwritten words until the meaning finally landed. They know why. Suddenly, the entire dinner repla. That final card changed the meaning of everything. Your soulmate had assumed the private dinner was the beginning and end of the millionaire's mysterious interest, but now there was another meeting, and this time, the invitation was clearly meant for 2 people. Your soulmate read the sentence again: bring the person you couldn't imagine leaving behind. There was no name printed beneath it. There didn't need to be. Your soulmate already knew who had been on their mind when the millionaire asked that unforgettable question. You. Don't skip, because the next realization was even bigger. The millionaire had prepared this card before your soulmate ever arrived at dinner. That meant he had anticipated that someone might answer his questions in exactly the way your soulmate did. But he couldn't have known who they would choose. The second invitation was waiting for the answer. And your soulmate had unknowingly placed you at the center of it. For the first time, your soulmate wondered what the millionaire could possibly want from both of you. Was this simply another conversation? Was there another part of the opportunity that had deliberately been kept hidden? Your soulmate searched through the folder again, looking for anything they might have missed. Then, on the back of the invitation, they discovered a faint handwritten sentence. Some opportunities change one person's circumstances. The rarest ones change what 2 people believe is possible. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because those words made your soulmate realize the next meeting wasn't necessarily about wealth at all. It was about vision. The millionaire wanted to understand whether the future your soulmate described at dinner was merely an idea, or something they were genuinely prepared to build with intention, patience, and courage. And that was when your soulmate made the most important decision of the entire night. They stopped rehearsing impressive explanations. They stopped wondering how to make the story sound extraordinary. If they came to you, they wanted to come with the truth. Someone asked me what mattered when everything I wanted suddenly became possible, and I thought about you. Nothing complicated. Nothing exaggerated. Just the sentence that had changed the entire evening. Your soulmate held the second invitation and realized the millionaire had given them something far more valuable than an impressive offer. He had forced them to recognize what they had been avoiding saying clearly. Don't skip now, because one final mystery remained. At the bottom of the invitation was a sealed strip your soulmate had not noticed. They carefully opened it and discovered 7 words that made them stare at the card in complete silence. Ask them what future they would choose. And suddenly, the next decision no longer belonged only to your soulmate. It belonged to you too. For the first time since leaving that private dinner, your soulmate understood why the millionaire had refused to reveal everything at once. Ask them what future they would choose. Those 7 words turned the entire story around. Until now, your soulmate had been answering questions about you. What you meant to them, whether they could imagine success without you, whether you belonged in the future they secretly wanted. But nobody had asked the most important question: what would you choose? Don't skip, because your soulmate suddenly realized they couldn't build a future around assumptions. They couldn't simply decide what your place should be. If something meaningful was ever going to unfold between you, your voice had to matter just as much as theirs. And strangely, that realization made the millionaire's entire test feel even more powerful. Your soulmate placed the invitation beside the original offer and saw the pattern clearly. The millionaire had never been testing whether they could say beautiful things about someone important. He was testing whether success would make them controlling, or make them more thoughtful. Would they treat you like part of a plan they had already decided, or would they actually ask what you wanted? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate finally understood the lesson hidden inside every question that evening. The strongest future isn't created by one person choosing for two. It begins when two people can speak honestly about what they want and discover whether their paths can genuinely move in the same direction. That realization changed how your soulmate planned to approach you completely. They no longer wanted to arrive with a dramatic announcement. They wanted to arrive with a question. A real one. If nothing was holding you back, what kind of future would make you feel truly fulfilled? Your soulmate wanted to listen before explaining the millionaire, the folder, or the second invitation. Because now they understood that your answer might be the missing piece of the entire evening. But then they turned the invitation over one final time and noticed something almost invisible beneath the date, a small line printed at the very bottom: your answer determines what happens next. Your soulmate's eyes widened. The second meeting wasn't simply waiting for both of you to arrive. Something about the next stage would depend on what you said. And suddenly, the millionaire's first question made perfect sense. He had learned what your soulmate wanted. Now he wanted to discover whether the future you imagined could meet theirs in a place neither of you had expected. The next morning, your soulmate woke with one thought stronger than everything else. Before accepting anything, before imagining what that second meeting might unlock, they needed to hear your answer. Not the answer they hoped you would give. Not the answer that would make the story perfect. Your real answer. And that changed their entire approach. They looked again at the millionaire's offer and realized something almost unbelievable. The most valuable opportunity they had ever received suddenly felt secondary to one honest conversation with you. Don't skip, because this was exactly what the millionaire had predicted. Once your soulmate understood what mattered to them, the next step was no longer about chasing something impressive. It was about discovering whether two separate visions of tomorrow could naturally meet. But there was another surprise hidden in the documents. Your soulmate noticed a small handwritten symbol beside the date of the second meeting. The same symbol appeared on the first page of the original folder. Beneath it were 4 words: no performance. Only truth. Suddenly, your soulmate understood why the millionaire had created such an unusual process. He wasn't interested in perfect answers. He wanted authentic ones. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate began imagining the question they would ask you, but for once, they weren't trying to predict your response. Maybe your dream looked completely different from theirs. Maybe there were goals you had never spoken aloud. Maybe the future waiting for both of you was bigger precisely because neither person had written the entire story yet. Then your soulmate discovered the final instruction for that second meeting: bring no documents. Bring no prepared answers. Bring one shared possibility. They read it slowly. A shared possibility. Not a promise. Not a predetermined destination. Just something both of you could genuinely imagine building toward. And suddenly, your soulmate smiled, because they finally understood the millionaire's deepest question from the dinner. He had never really been asking, would you give up success for this person? He had been asking whether your soulmate could recognize a version of success where meaningful relationships and personal growth didn't have to erase each other. Don't skip now, because your soulmate turned toward their phone, ready to finally begin that conversation with you. But before they could, another message arrived from the millionaire himself. It contained only one line: before you invite them, there is one final thing about the second meeting you need to know. The millionaire's message arrived at exactly the moment your soulmate thought there could be no more surprises. They opened it immediately, expecting another mysterious instruction. Instead, the words were simple: the second meeting is not about whether I approve of you too. It is about whether you can recognize what you already have. Your soulmate read the sentence twice. Suddenly, the pressure disappeared. This wasn't some test where a powerful stranger would decide their future. The millionaire had simply created a moment where two people could speak honestly about what mattered before life became louder, faster, and more complicated. Don't skip, because your soulmate finally understood why the first dinner had changed so dramatically when you were mentioned. The millionaire wasn't fascinated by a perfect love story. He was fascinated by the fact that when your soulmate was given permission to imagine everything becoming possible, their thoughts still returned naturally to you. Your soulmate looked at the second invitation again, but now it felt completely different. The expensive room, the opportunity, the impressive people, none of those things were the real center of the story anymore. You were the question that revealed the answer. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate realized they didn't need to arrive with promises about a flawless tomorrow. They only needed the courage to ask what kind of life would genuinely make you happy and then listen carefully. Maybe your dreams would align immediately. Maybe they would surprise each other. Either way, the millionaire had shown them something important: a meaningful future cannot be built from assumptions. It begins with truth, respect, and two people being willing to understand each other before deciding where the road should lead. Then your soulmate finally picked up their phone. This time, they didn't hesitate. They knew exactly how they wanted to begin, not with the millionaire, not with the opportunity, not even with the mysterious invitation. They wanted to start with the sentence that had changed the private dinner. Someone asked me to picture the future I truly wanted, and somehow I started talking about you. Because that was the truth beneath everything. Don't skip now. The millionaire may have opened a remarkable door, but your soulmate had realized that walking through any door meant very little if they didn't understand why they were walking through it. And as they prepared to reach out to you, they noticed one final sentence printed inside the invitation holder. Words that had been hidden beneath the card all along. The first dinner revealed who they remembered. The second will reveal what both of you are ready to imagine. Your soulmate stared at those words and smiled. Because now the biggest moment wasn't waiting inside a millionaire's private room. It was waiting inside the conversation they were finally ready to have with you.